Enos will return next Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock, 7 Central and Mountain Time on most of these stations.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
This portrait of Jean Grey, the Phoenix, is one of the ones I did for a series of single frame mock-up kind of covers for the Marvelocity book, where my concept was it would work like an accordion. When you open up the book, getting past the initial Captain America cover, you would fold it out and you get Iron Man and character after character after character, and it allowed me then to do multiple Marvel character portraits. Phoenix being one of the most primary Marvel concepts, because her storyline back in 1980, the invention of that character, that maturation of Jean Grey into the Phoenix, was one of the best storylines in the history of comics and stands out as one of the most important female superheroes.
Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Carl, I always forget, Kesel or Kesel? Kesel, right?
Kesel.
I thought so. Okay.
I don't get upset either way. You know, I live. I'll survive.
Please, you can imagine how my name gets murdered. But good to see you, Karl Kesel. Welcome back to Word Balloon.
Good to see you too, John.
And congratulations, man. You got another Impossible Jones campaign underway. And I got the lobby card here. Hold on one second, because it's a special story. Am I right? This is a great team up, Impossible Jones and Even Steven.
Yeah, Even Steven's going to have some backup stories in this book. He's very popular, and chances are David and I will do something solo with him very soon in the future. But right now he is going to be in the main story too. What I've done, what David and I have done for the last 4. This is the 4th one. Impossible Jones books do a series of team-ups with different characters in her universe. And the idea was this would be kind of smaller scale stories, which would give us room to explore the world and explore the characters and really kind of feel out and expand on what little had been, established in the graphic novel. And of course, as these things do, it got way out of hand. And what was 4 small self-contained stories, and I thought, we're talking 24-page stories, right? And the first one was 30 pages right out of the gate. Second one, 38 pages. Third one, 48 pages. And in there, I suddenly realized there was a way to link all the stories together. And so they were building, and now we're on the 4th and final team up. And it does have Even Steven in the main story. And then he will also have his own backup stories. We're working on a second stretch goal, which Steve Lieber would draw if we get that funded.
That's great. It evokes memories of Blue Beetle in the front and the Question in the back, and certainly the design of Even Steven certainly lends itself to Ditko-esque heroes like the Question. Certainly.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm not going to deny that that's where his lineage is. Come on. But I will have to say, I kind of backed into that. I got into that backwards because I had the name, and from the name I figured out what that meant he would do. He always exactly equals whoever he's going up against, because he feels good will triumph over evil in a fair fight. Got to be fair. Got to be exactly equal. And that was I thought that sounded cool. And then I thought, well, Even Steven, if you're calling yourself Steven, you're not wearing a spandex suit. That doesn't sound like the name of a guy in a spandex suit. It sounds like name of a guy in a suit, And that's really how, we just kind of backed up into it. And David took all that and designed Even Steven and gave him kind of a kind of 60s mod look, which I really love. I did, because I was always envisioning that real snap brim hat, but he's got that more sloped brim hat. And it's a much tighter. David understands how these fashions much better than I do.
Sleek designs on both characters, absolutely. And I want to throw a comment up right away. Mike Jones says, "Thank you, Carl and Company, for Impossible Jones." He backed both Kickstarters. Well, we're learning now that is this the fourth? You said it's the fourth issue, but I'm assuming it's the fourth Kickstarter, right?
Well, it's we did a graphic novel, and then we've done 3 team-up books, so this is kind of the 5th.
Okay.
But each time, you can get all the back issues, and at this point, I can't call them floppies because they're square bound, and I know many retailers hate that word, anyways. But so I'm calling them like graphic novellas. They're really not graphic novels, but when you're talking 48 pages, and this last one being the wrap up, there's always a chance it's going to be more than 48. It might become 52, 56. One of the great things and one of the pitfalls of creator-owned comics, especially creator-owned comics done through Kickstarter, is it's up to you how many pages it is. And that is a blessing and a curse. It is a blessing and a curse.
You've been on before to talk about Impossible Jones, but remind people about her and what she stands for and what her unique position is as a character, I should say.
Right.
Describe the difference, obviously.
Yeah, I mean the very basic idea, the elevator pitch is she is a thief who gets superpowers and then is mistaken for a superhero, and she just runs with it. She goes, yeah, I'm a superhero. But she doesn't really. Well, she has no intention of giving up her criminal ways because she's good at it and she enjoys it. And now she's got superpowers. But as a superhero, the cops tell her where they're on patrol, and if she wants to see a security system in a jewelry store, they're happy to show her. Happy to show a superhero their security system in a jewelry store. And so it in many ways, Impossible Jones is it's the story of a very long con. What it is. She's trying to, she's in a city that's got just half a dozen other superheroes, lots more villains than heroes. And, the other heroes in some way, they don't really have a choice. They need her help. So they really don't want to, even if some of them suspect she may not be all she says she is, they need her in that city. It's not like there's the Avengers and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. There's 5 heroes, So
that's great, man. No, it's a great premise and really fun designs. I think it's been a really worthwhile series. And I'm sorry that you're wrapping it up by,
wrapping up the team up arc. Okay. This is the second big arc. The graphic novel is the first arc. This is the second big arc. And David and I, we certainly have another big arc in mind. I think after this, chances are we'll go and just do a graphic novel instead of doing these smaller books. But David and I, we're going to do this until we get tired. And right now we're not tired. Quite honestly, I think David is in this most recent. It's called Impossible Jones American Angel. That name is not on the graphic you have, but theoretically the team up is with a character called American Angel. And David's doing the best work of his career on this particular book. I mean, he's always done great work. I've always loved his work, but there's a I don't know, a sensitivity to it. I don't know. There's something really engaging, more engaging than ever before in his work in this particular issue.
Sounds great, man. That's excellent to hear. I'm bringing up the Kickstarter page. You still got about 3 weeks left of the campaign?
Yeah, I think 3 weeks from today is the end. Yeah, so we still got a road ahead of us, and that's fine because one of our alternate covers this time around was by Adam Hughes. We have an Adam Hughes cover. We have a Terry Moore cover, and these guys are professionals. I paid for their services, and I have to earn money back because I paid for their services. So, we got a little ways to go before I will feel out of the woods financially. Let me put it that way.
No, I understand, man. And again, I think you're going about it the right way, and David's designs are great. I think this is a lot of fun. It's a good series, and you guys are certainly good pros. I remember, one of my favorites of back in the day of yours was the Captain America newspaper strip.
Oh, one of my favorites. Not known by enough people, if you ask me.
The good news is it's on Marvel Unlimited. I mean, it was a digital product to begin with.
Yeah.
and then it became a comic and stuff. But it's nice that it's sitting there now on Marvel Unlimited. Yeah, no, that's a good one, man. And again, you guys evoke that spirit, and I certainly Impossible Jones, that fun Bronze Age. I think kind of fun.
Yeah. I will tell you that Captain America comic strip, if it had been more popular and they'd asked me to do more, I would have done it forever. That was a great. I have a huge love of the old comic strips, the old adventure comic strips, and that was the whole concept. The whole concept was, Superman had a comic strip in the 40s, Wonder Woman, Batman, Invisible Scarlet O'Neil had a comic strip in the 40s. Why didn't Captain America have a comic strip? And so they said, I said, why don't you let me do what it might have been? Of course I did it with more modern sensibilities because, I didn't want it to read like a 40s, but I love doing that. I just love doing that.
No, it was a lot of fun. Didn't David do Batman 66?
Yeah, David did do a bunch of Batman.
A lot of them,
yeah. I inked some of them, but he did much more.
Does David do everything? Do you ink David for these Impossible Jones?
Yeah, David pencils and I ink. Yeah, that's what we do. And I like working with David. I enjoy inking his stuff, and I enjoy inking anyways. I mean, I've always just enjoyed the physical act of inking, so it's hard to walk away from that totally. Especially on a character that I feel very invested in, like Impossible Jones. This is one of those times where you go, really that tree in the background, maybe that shouldn't be that color green. That's the sort of it. And then you go, gotta let it go.
Well, and I'm glad you're able to do that. And also, again, you've I think proven yourself as a writer time and time again as well. And I know too that the plight of the inker is certainly a little tougher these days as far as the big two goes.
No, tell me about it. Yeah, I mean, inkers, they're there's so many pencilers inking their own stuff or digitally inking. Digitally inking is just taken over. I know. It's, technology, you gotta love it because you don't want to piss off the robot overlords when they take over,
Hey man, I hear you. I mean, good Lord, AI is even entering the voice world now. In Chicago, one of the local radio stations cut loose their entire staff.
No,
it's a music station, and they're going to have AI DJs. And it's just introducing songs, but Jesus. I mean, it's like, my God. I still believe news and information is still going to need a real person, and AI will not be able to take over those departments of broadcasting. But yeah, man, no, as far as introducing a Taylor Swift song, I don't think unfortunately it's going to be cheaper just to flip a switch.
Yeah, well, I know. Well, I get Tom Brevoort does a Substack newsletter, and I get it every week. And I don't know if you get it, but last week before, he had AI write some of his column, and and it sounded a lot like Tom. I have to say, I would say it sounded a little soulless, and not quite with Tom's wit, but it was freaky how it did the job.
Interesting. I'm still not convinced as far as narrative, but again, we'll see. I mean, certainly. What is this? Romney says AI may help Mead be more honest.
May help who be more honest?
Hold on. Oh, I see. AI may help news more
accurate. Huh?
I don't know.
Possibly, maybe.
I still think AI in the wrong hands can still manipulate.
Well, technology, yeah, and it all comes down to who programs it and who what direction they point it in. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not ready to turn it over to Skynet just yet. No, sorry. What are you gonna do, man? But I love you're wearing your Impossible Jones specs.
Yeah.
Very
special.
cool.
I mean, really, I was in I needed new glasses, and I was in there, and it was really freaky because this eyeglass place, maybe they all have these, but they have these huge shelves that just slide side to side, and they've got other shelves behind them.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I was looking for glasses, and the lady goes, "Oh, there's more glasses behind that area over there," and I slid it to one side, and there were these glasses sitting there. I go, "Oh my God, they're Impossible Jones glasses!" And as I said before the show began, these are focused only 14 inches from my face. So I wear them whenever I draw, ink, or when I'm at the computer like I am now. But if I look across the room, I can't see anything. It's all just a blur over there. So when I'm walking around in the real world, I mean, this is like my secret identity glasses. In the real world, I've got just like normal glasses where I can see in the distance and drive a car without endangering everyone around me.
That's awesome. Mike Jones, very deep in the Impossible Jones mythos, wants you to know if Karl ever wants to release a proper size copy of David Hahn's Hope City map, where Impossible Jones has said he would be all over it. That's a good idea.
It's not a bad idea. I have to admit, one of the things I find myself really probably spending far too much time thinking about is we created a fictitious city for Impossible Jones called New Hope City. I'll tell you right now, it's basically located where Eureka, California is. That's where it's located. But I have gotten really interested in the history of the city and how it developed and the different areas that developed and the names for the different neighborhoods. And I mean, really, if you go to the Kickstarter page and see the 5 pages of samples that we have, there's one part where Impossible Jones' narration is, describing, the tile work in a subway stop. And that's because like, I'm going, yeah, this subway stop would have really cool tile work, like, I get really excited about that.
Here I'm trying to bring up the page. In the meantime, Jeff Parker watching us.
Oh, hey, Parker.
He can't see Bruce Struzan piece from this view.
Secret.
What? No. Oh, really?
No, it's not a secret. No,
what do you got from Drew? That's amazing.
I use some of my Superman money, and I have the original movie poster for Big Trouble in Little China.
Wow.
And it is not here, and in fact, actually, it's in storage right now.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, I mean, that was my that's probably going to be what I retire on, basically.
I understand. Wow, I'm looking. All right, I'm on the page now, and I'm really glad you have hit your goal, but you got 3 weeks left, and you certainly have a lot of stretch goals, and I'll put them up on camera in a second.
Okay.
To share with everybody, so at least the viewers can see this. Another reason why on the audio side, why you should always indeed watch the Word Balloon Lives when you can as well here on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook as well. But here we go. Let's see. All right, boom. So there it is. Almost 1,000 backers. That's great, and you've doubled your stretch goals or your goal.
Yeah.
So right now, am I right? Let's see here. There's an additional 1-page Even Stevens story, or just
what I do with the Even Stevens stories is there's six-page stories, but since they are big additions to the book, I ask a big amount of money. I ask $6,000, $1,000 a page. So I break it down here. So each $1,000 we raised adds a page to it until we get to 6 pages. And
okay.
And so, we're shooting, to add that sweet Steve Lieber backup story at 45K. And right now we're a little short of 42. So, but, we got time. But as I always like to point out, that initial goal, that doesn't cover all the expenses. That covers like the very basic expenses. That means we can print the book, but that doesn't necessarily pay for all the time that I've put in, David Hahn has put in, Ryan Cody has put in. I mean, these people are being paid, but they're being paid out of my pocket. So we try to earn some of that back with these stretch goals is what we try to do.
Okay. And you've reached this goal, obviously.
Yeah. All of these have happened so far.
Yeah. Nice chibi sticker from Giancarlo Bernal.
He is such an amazing artist. He's from the Philippines, nicest guy in the whole world. And for another book on Kickstarter, it's not on right now, but it's called Crescent City Monsters, and there's another one in that same universe called Keisha Demon Eater, and Giancarlo Bernal does the art for that, and it's astounding. And I fell in love with it the first time I saw it. And then during one of their campaigns, he was doing little chibi drawings of their characters, and I was like going, "Oh, I'm going to steal this idea!" And I contacted him, and he's been so generous doing every campaign since. He's done 2 or 3. But we use them as stickers. We use them as stickers that we can give out. They're really cute, and they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful.
No, that's great, man. Well, I guess we've convinced Ronnie. He says thanks a lot, and it looks like a good book, he's going to jump.
Thanks,
on
Ronnie.
That's good.
Thank you.
The system works. I'm so glad that that happens. That's what I hope, man, is to give people awareness of these.
No, really, it comes down to getting the word out there. I mean, every single person who runs Kickstarters can tell you there's that story of the day after the campaign ends, someone goes, "What? I just learned about this. How did I not know about this?" And you've been talking it nonstop for 30 days at that point, 28, 30 days. And there's still, people out there that you just don't quite cross paths with, and these are sometimes people pretty well. Other artists have, who we follow each other on Twitter and stuff. It just depends on when I put something up and when they're looking. And if they're looking at different times, they don't see it,
Absolutely, man. No, the algorithms really screw with us in general on social media. And I have longtime friends that I never see their posts because
exactly.
You just, depending on the time of day, you miss them and everything. No, it's true.
And I always say too, that if, I don't know all the people John, and the people like the same things you do. And if you like Impossible Jones, there's a very good chance they'll like Impossible Jones too. But I can't tell them because I don't know those people. You know those people, and that's why sharing a post is so important. Even it's most important to support the book, but if you can't, and I understand that these are not $4.99 books like Marvel and DC put out or used to or whatever. I know they're considerably more expensive than that. So I understand I certainly can't buy all the books on Kickstarter that I find interesting. I know you have to budget yourself, but if you can't support the book financially, it helps tremendously just to spread the word. Tremendously. You cannot overstate that enough.
Mike Jones says he's happy to support the Kickstarter a bit more for a weekend rental of that poster.
Promise. I promise to return it.
I don't know.
This really pisses me off.
He seems very sincere. I don't know.
Yes, he does. I trust him.
That's great. Do you have a community of friends that also do Kickstarters, and do you guys confer about this?
Yeah. Quite honestly,
who's in your circle?
What was that?
Who's in your circle of friends
I'm very close with Ron Randall. We confer almost daily during both of our Kickstarters. Here's an idea. Oh, I've tried this, and oh, look what you can do over here, and someone else is trying this idea. We've got a little brain trust. But beyond that, there's a few other people that I really respect. A guy named Charlie Stickney, who does a book on Kickstarter called White Ash. He's doing it. He did a spinoff called Galarian, which is about a assassin elf gal who's sexy and beautiful and deadly. And his comic work is great, and he works with amazing artists. But Charlie's a smart cookie. He's just got a head for it, and I tend to really trust his instincts, and I watch where he's going because I think he knows where he's going, and I think he's got a good feel for it. So Charlie Stickney, I can't say enough good things about. And Pat Shand is another guy out there. He does a zillion Kickstarters, and Pat is quite honestly just one of the best writers out there. I mean, I supported his books originally just because he was like constantly doing them and they were constantly successful. So I said, I want to see what this guy's about. And then I was like reading his stories and I'm going, oh my God, this is very touching. This is really funny. This is, and I was so impressed. And he's a Kickstarter force to be reckoned with. There's no doubt about it. Pat Shand. And, beyond that, there's a whole bunch of other people out there that, the thing about Kickstarter is I think everyone helps everyone else. It's my feeling is that, when you're at Marvel or DC and you hear your buddies doing Batman, you go, hey, great, you're doing Batman. But, there's part of you goes, I'd really like to do Batman, boy. And granted, they put out 1 million Batman books. You probably could still do a Batman book. But that there isn't that level of there isn't that level at all in Kickstarter because I'm not looking to do Trekker that Ron Randall is doing. Ron Randall is not looking to do Impossible Jones. I'm not looking to do White Ash or Galarian that Charlie Stickney's doing. And we can honestly support each other very pure. It's a very pure support, and we want each other to succeed. And we all believe, at least certainly I believe, and I think everyone else I've mentioned does too, that, a rising tide raises all boats, So the more people we can, expose to the Kickstarter stuff and get into the Kickstarter stuff, the better it is for all of us. The better it is for all of us.
Well, I was telling you before we started, and I'm glad we mentioned Ron Randall and Trekker. I'm glad that his series continues to do well. I'm glad he reached his goals. I feel bad he reached out to me and I wasn't able to get him in the schedule, but we'll get you next time, Ron. And I mean, again, I'm really glad all of you guys are taking your game to this other, place of creator-owned stuff. I don't know if that was always the thought back prior to the ability now to do creator-owned books through crowdfunding. I mean, was it always in your head with some of these characters, or again, for decades the pinnacle was DC and Marvel.
Well, I love working for DC and Marvel. There's no doubt it was a lot of fun to play in that sandbox. But I've always had some ideas that I kind of kept in my back pocket that I didn't, quite honestly, ideas. Okay, Impossible Jones is a superhero series, and that sort of series could find a place in, I don't know about Marvel or DC, but in a more mainstream comic. Yes, it could.
Yeah.
Yes, Trekker did do a great time. Did great this time out, Jeff. That's right. But there's a lot of ideas I have in the back of my head that I knew Marvel and DC would not be interested in. Western ideas, detective ideas, and I had a certain reputation as, a more fun comics sort of guy, and I don't regret that reputation, but that would make a noir story from me much more of a hard sell through DC or Marvel, something like that. And I've got some noir ideas that I would really like to trot out at some time. And Western, quite honestly, that would be my top. I would love to do a Western.
That I would love to see a Western from you. I think that's great, man. I mean, Dan Penosian obviously doing a great job right now with Scott Snyder on Canary.
Yeah,
I'm glad that people that do have those Western ambitions are finding a way to get them out there and everything.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. So, how about what have you been watching? Titans and their depiction of Connor Kent, your creation.
I have not seen. I have not seen almost any DC TV shows. Very few. Very, very few. It just my wife and I sit down at about 9 at night. We have about an hour to relax, and sometimes we talk about what's going on and what we got to get done. And sometimes we watch something on TV, and sometimes it's Top Chef because we love that show. Sometimes sometimes it's a home improvement show, and sometimes it is a TV series. But generally, we're way behind the. I just what did we? Well, we just finished Reservation Dogs, which was on Hulu, which is a great series. It's a great series. But when you only have about an hour at the end of the day, it's hard to catch everything. But I know he was on it, and I know Hawk and Dove were on that too, and I haven't seen that either.
Absolutely. No, and really, I got to say they were kind of the secret weapon in terms of an interesting portrayal of them, the duo, and everything. I think they did a great job with Hawk and Dove in particular, but I like what they've done with Connor as well.
Nice.
I think it's been pretty good. What have you had thoughts on the James Gunn new slate of DC projects? You saw.
Well, I trust James Gunn. I think he's the man for the job. I'm very excited to see what he does. I always think back, quite honestly, I'm a huge fan of zombies. And I think back on the remake of Dawn of the Dead, which was written by James Gunn and directed by Scott Snyder,
Yes.
And I love that movie. And right or wrong, I give him most of the credit to the screenwriting at this point. If you've seen it, there's an end sequence after the credits, which destroys the whole rest of the movie. The whole point of the rest of the movie is destroyed by and I'm going there. I bet you Snyder added that scene. Now that's just me. I could be wrong. Scott Snyder could be shaking his fist at no, James Gunn put that in the script. But it strikes me as much more of Snyder's sensibilities, that really nihilistic, attitude. So I'm glad DC has James Gunn. Let me put it that way.
I hear you, man. Mike says, and I have to say that's great. Superman and Lois draws heavily from your Superman era.
Well, it's very good to hear. I've not seen it, So, but that's very nice. I've heard it's a good show. I mean, I hear, I was recently exchanging some messages with Russ Burlingame, who's doing a Kickstarter right now for a book about the history of the series Legends of Tomorrow that DC was on.
He's been on to talk about it, yes.
Oh, he has, yeah. Well, I've never watched that show, but he described it to me, and I thought, that's the sort of show it sounds like I would love.
It leans more to comedy than the other Arrowverse shows, and I think succeeds. I think it's a lot of fun, and they really, I kind of feel like maybe it was like Deep Space Nine with Star Trek, where they were kind of left to their own devices.
Yeah,
really got to try a lot of interesting things narratively.
Well,
so
it sounds great. Yeah.
Jay Gomez, and shame on me, Carl. I got to go back. And now that I've got Marvel Unlimited, I really have to do it. He loved your Daredevil run.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah. I really saved the bacon of that new penciler, Kerry Nord. Yeah, I saved his bacon. Yeah, whatever happened to him? Well, he's doing a comic on Kickstarter. That's what happened to him. So,
again, Kerry's been on as well. Yeah, no, Kerry's amazing.
No, Kerry's a great guy.
Absolutely, man. Tell me about your Daredevil run, because you wrote it as well. You know, what was your?
I mean, that was Bob Harris was still editor in chief, and he the editor I worked with was James Felder, but I believe James was told to find a way to bring Daredevil back to his more swashbuckling roots, and so they reached out to me because I do have a definite sense of humor in the sort of stories I do. And and so that's what I was trying to bring to Daredevil. At the same time, though, I was trying not to lose some of the nice edge that the character had developed over the years, and so I tried to find a way, and probably was very unsuccessful, to balance kind of that edge that Miller gave the character with the more fun aspect that I love in the character. I mean, my favorite runs of Daredevil are when Gene Colan and Stan were doing it, and Mike Murdock was around, where Daredevil was trying to pretend to be his own twin brother, and then he would disguise himself as Thor. Like, no one would suspect he was, that anyone would buy this disguise. And then he switched minds with Dr. Doom. These were the weirdest stories in the whole world. And it just seemed like Stan was just throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. And I love that run. I love that run so much.
Did you put Mike in your run, Mike Murdock?
I didn't put Mike in my run. The run ended a little abruptly because I was overworked. But I was going to bring that in. I actually had an idea where Daredevil would adopt the guise of Mr. Fear, and so those would be his three identities: Matt Murdock, Daredevil, and Mr. Fear. We never quite got there, but that was kind of my homage to Matt Murdock. But when they did the 50th anniversary issue of Daredevil, they did ask me to write, and I got to actually pencil a little backup, which was a Mike Murdock story. And then they got Tom Palmer to ink it, which was
wow,
right over the top. It was beautiful. So I mean, he made my stuff look very acceptable. That's good.
Incredible. Absolutely. So as an inker, who were some of the big icons that you had the pleasure of getting a chance to ink?
Me? Oh my God. I've been so lucky. I've inked, John Byrne. I've inked George Perez. I've inked, people like Leonard Kirk, amazing. I did ink Adam Hughes on a short story once.
Any of the old timers though, Carl? I mean, I was wondering.
George Tuska. I inked George Tuska.
Wow!
I was very excited.
Everyone you named is fantastic. But yeah, I consider them more your contemporaries, and I am such a George Tuska fan. My God.
Yeah. I loved inking him.
Do you remember what book was it on for?
Well, it was very early. It was like my first year. I was inking Tales of the Legion of Superheroes, and they had backups. There's 2 or maybe 3 backups featuring the White Witch character. White Witch, is that her name? And George Tuska penciled those, and I got to ink them, and it was great. I also got to ink a few Who's Who pages by Kurt Swan.
Wow.
So, and I still have the Nightwing Flamebird Kurt Swan Who's Who page.
It's the Kandor Nightwing and Flamebird.
I know Kandor Nightwing. I love it.
Yeah. So was it Superman and Jimmy?
Yeah, yeah. In their little outfits, their Nightwing
Sure.
and Flamebird outfits. Yeah, it was. I loved, even as a kid, I loved Nightwing and Flamebird in Candor. It was great.
Those awesome flight belts
I know.
that had
Yeah,
the twin jets on them on the hips. Oh
yeah.
no, man! I think either it was an 80-page giant or it was the Superman encyclopedia where I first saw Nightwing and Flamebird designs like that, and I'm like, oh, what a great! I mean, again, we were the right age when that stuff happened, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's incredible.
It was always one of my favorites. So to ink that was a real joy. Yeah, I do regret I missed inking Don Heck. I had a chance because he was going to draw a pencil of that book that DC did back in the late '80s, mid '80s called DC Challenge.
Sure.
And he was going to draw an issue, and I was going to ink it. And once again, the schedule just didn't quite work out, and never got another chance to ink him. Never got it, and that really is a huge regret of mine.
That is a strange book, and I don't even remember the exact premise, but I tried to read it because, of course, all the heroes that were in that book made it seem intriguing. But it was, they did the same thing with the Commandy challenge,
Right. It was very similar, exactly. Yeah.
But at least it was Commandy, so
there was a spine to the whole story. Yeah. The original DC challenge just was all over the place. It was, I think it was a much better idea at a cocktail party than it was as a comic book.
Yeah, am I right? It essentially was like, okay, one team does an issue and then a handoff, and then the story takes whatever direction.
Each writer could take the story in any direction they wanted to go. They just had to, make sure they could wrap up any loose plot threads or cliffhanger from the issue before, and then advance the story in whatever way they wanted. So. But
that's outstanding. You also wrote an Indiana Jones story back in the day, and obviously we got the movie coming up. I'm sure you're. How do you feel about the movie coming up?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping. I have hopes. I have more. I have higher hopes than I had for Crystal Skull. Which, well, let's face it, it's got to be better than Crystal Skull. It's got to.
I hear what you're saying.
It's impossible not to be better.
Yeah, and James Mangold, my God, I mean, what he did with Logan, and one of my favorite movies of his, Ford versus Ferrari from just 4 years ago.
Oh, I haven't seen that one, but I hear very good things.
It's really, really great. So yeah, I am. I'm hopeful. Comic Boom.
What?
Comic Boom has joined us and said, "Just picked up my Impossible Jones Kickstarter in the mail. The gorgeous Volume 1 hardcover. Love the posters and the custom pin."
Oh, great! I love the pin too. I think the pin. I do not have one here. I gave it away. Otherwise, I'd hold it up for the camera. But I do not have one handy. But yeah, I've always been a huge fan of enamel pins, and we might have one as a stretch goal on this one too. Maybe. It depends on how far along we get.
Do you see yourself doing any sort of event style one story with Impossible Jones and these characters that you've created for this world?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean. An event style. What do you mean?
Like, where everybody, a big jam where everybody's going to be in the book.
Well, that's kind of what's happening in this issue. Because, like I said, we started as what was going to be 4 separate stories, but I actually always knew the 3rd and 4th stories kind of connected. And then when we were doing the 2nd story, I saw how that could connect to the 3rd and 4th. And so I said, wow, is there a way to connect it to the 1st? And there is. There's a really obvious way to connect it. And all of a sudden, all the stories became connected. But that means basically all our characters are going to team up in this last book. And the cover, if you look at the Kickstarter page, the cover I've put together with David and Ryan has a big banner across the bottom that says "Hell yeah, assemble," because that's what they're doing. They're assembling.
I think I am getting to it. Stand by. I'll do that for in a second. Hold on here. Let me share the screen. Is it this one?
Well, I mean, that's from the cover. If you go up a little bit, there's the whole cover. There's the cover.
Absolutely.
American Angel above, and then all the other characters below. And actually, the character on the left side, the gal in the green outfit, her name is Persephone, and we've mentioned her from the very beginning, but she's never appeared in the comic until now because I've never had a place for her. In this issue, there's finally a place for her, and I'm really excited because Persephone is a hero who's elected every year. she kind of is the embodiment of the city. She's like the ambassador, the goodwill ambassador, although she does have powers. But the thing that really intrigues me about that is it means there's all these ex-Persephones out there. They were Persephone for 1 year, and then they hand off the pendant to someone else. And in fact, this Persephone is the daughter of the mayor, who was a Persephone herself. And I find that really interesting, that idea, like how did people, in a way, it's like, how do you use, you're Miss America for a year, and how do you use that after you're not Miss America? I'm almost more interested in what happens to them after they're Persephone,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Will you tell other stories in this world with some of these other characters?
Definitely. I mean,
Persephone, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, any one of these, that's the thing is, any one of these characters could support their own book. Persephone certainly could. I mean, even Stephen is our big breakout character. And, David and I have talked many times about him having, I don't know about ongoing, but certainly a graphic novel, something that really focuses on him. Any of these characters could support their own book, or graphic novel. Yeah.
Jeff Parker giving the recommendation that you and David Hahn are one of those chocolate and peanut butter dream teams. I agree. And he says everyone should back Impossible.
We are better together. Yes, that's right. We are better together.
And Isham has an interesting throwback moment for you. He thinks the earliest example of your art that he read was a Newsboy Legion story back in Secret Origins.
Yeah, I did do that. That was one of the few things I actually wrote, penciled, and inked myself. And that happened, you can blame the editor, Mark Wade, for that. Mark Wade decided for some reason, he decided it was a good idea to let me loose. So, but I believe that was my very first solo writing credit.
And did it take the team from the 40s through their clones in the 70s and
Well, I mean, it was set in Project Cadmus in the modern day, and Mark's definition of what a secret origin was very loose, and so I just kind of did a Newsboy Legion story, and there's kind of an origin of the project in there, maybe, but it's really much more just of a Newsboy Legion story, and I had a blast doing it.
Was the Guardian in the story as well?
Yeah, the Guardian, of course, the Guardian was in it. Yeah.
Okay, Jim Harmon, absolutely.
And Angry Charlie, who Kirby had in the Jimmy Olsen books he did. I loved Angry Charlie when I
didn't remember Angry Charlie. That's fantastic.
He was a big monster from the DNA Project, and he ate furniture. That's what he ate, because they thought there was something like in the shellac of furniture that he needed to eat. And anyways, but Angry Charlie, that all that stuff was in that story.
So, all right, and I didn't realize this. Comic Boom asks a good question here. How do you decide what Impossible Jones story to tell via Scout Comics versus going through Kickstarter? So, is Impossible Jones? Are there other stories that Scout is publishing?
Well, Scout takes what we do on Kickstarter and then repackages it.
Okay,
and gets it into comics.
That's what I assumed. Sure.
Yeah. Now we do new covers. Like the 4-issue miniseries they put out was our graphic novel, which we had structured as 4 issues because that's how I was trained. But
sure.
So they took that graphic novel, broke it down into 4 issues. We did new covers for it, and some of those chapters were pretty long, so there was no room for extra stuff. But in 2 of those issues, we did do 1-page extra stories, one which featured Persephone actually, and so anyways, that's what they do. And we the first 2 of the team up books have already been solicited through Scout. The Impossible Jones Holly Days one-shot team up, and then the Impossible Jones Captain Lightning team up. Both of those have been already solicited by Scout. And in both of those, we do some extra interior stuff. We do kind of like Who's Who or Who's Who sort of pages for Impossible Jones and Holly Days. And then in the Captain Lightning story, there's actually 2 pages that David and Hahn and I had done for the story originally, and then there was really no place for it. And so it's going to go in the Scout book. And it's like a Chamber of Commerce pamphlet about New Hope City. It kind of gives the history. Like I said, I get really fascinated by the history of this fake city. And so we did a Chamber of Commerce pamphlet talking about how great, New Hope City is. And we started as a small, outpost and, that sort of thing. But that would be in the Captain Lightning Scout book.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, I love that, and it reminds me of when James Robinson was fleshing out Opal City.
Yeah, exactly.
Starman, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I there's something about it, and quite honestly, I remember being very interested in this to a certain degree back when I started writing Superman, because I remember there was one scene in I think the very first issue of Superman I wrote where a locomotive, gets dropped into a park and it's just like sitting there in the park, and I was thinking that's going to be there forever. That is like a new piece of public art in Metropolis where Superman just dropped a train and no one can like get it out. And so the idea of, mapping out what this city is like always did really intrigue me. And so we're really getting a chance to do it much more in Impossible Jones. Yeah.
Comic Boom says that the Scout Impossible Jones comics command a healthy price in the secondary market.
Oh.
He's in the process of acquiring them. Hey, man. So, maybe, everyone should be jumping on those when they come out.
I'm going to hold on to my copies for a little longer then.
I don't blame you, man. Mike Jones asks, did that Newsboy origin lead to the all Cadmus stories in your Adventure Superman Superboy runs, or was that a happy coincidence?
Well, no, I mean, there's no coincidences. I mean, I have always been a huge fan of Project Cadmus back from the days when Kirby was doing it. I always loved that idea. And, of course, Jerry Ordway was already using all that stuff in Adventures of Superman when they handed the book off to me. And that was, quite honestly, as far as I was concerned, a very natural fit. And and so, I mean, I was always more than happy to use Project Cadmus in my Superman stories. And it just seemed, I know when we were at that Superman summit, we were talking about how could there be a Superboy? And I said, well, he could be a clone from the Cadmus project, and, that's what stuck. And so.
So, Carl, was it you, or did it happen later where we discover that Connor has Luthor DNA along with Superman DNA?
No, that was Jeff Johns. A brilliant move on Jeff Johns' part.
Made him a more conflicted character, certainly.
Yeah, no, it was very good. I mean, we back when I was working on Superman books, it was a very strict rule that only Superman could be Kryptonian. There could be no other trace of Kryptonian. So, Supergirl wasn't Kryptonian really, and
right, she was Matrix. Yeah,
exactly. She was Matrix. And it was not an editorial thing that I agreed with, because I actually think a huge part of the appeal of Superman is the family aspect, the idea that he does have a cousin. I mean, does Spider-Man have a cousin? No, Spider-Man doesn't have a cousin. The family aspect. He's got a dog. She's got a cat. There really is a feeling, very familial feel to the Superman family. And the idea that there actually is a blood connection in between these characters too. I think that's part of the appeal of Superman. I mean,
I so agree, and also that's really what they're doing right now.
Yeah,
with the two books, and I've had Philip Johnson on, and I've talked to Josh Williamson about it, and Jurgens, and the feature that Dan is doing, and everything. I noticed Dan also contributing to the Impossible Jones.
Well, he did he was gracious enough to do an alternate cover for us, which I will never ever reprint. If anyone wants a copy of that cover, they've got to get that book. It will not be in compilations. It will not be in the big, coffee table art book we do someday. That Dan Jurgens cover is going to be printed once. It's the alternate cover for one of the Impossible Jones Holly Days book. And when that print run is gone, it's going to be gone. That's all I can say.
That's awesome, man. What are the prices for this issue digitally and as a hard book as well?
I believe digitally it's $8. I could be wrong, and I think it's $19 or $20 for the printed book. But that gets you the digital version, and everybody is getting. When Adam Hughes did his cover, he did a background which was Impossible Jones's face done in the style of the Obama Hope poster.
Yes,
that red and blue, real contrasty red and blue.
Yeah, we're going to show it in a second. Go on.
And so I said to him, I said, Adam, I love that. We can I offer that as a poster all by itself? And he goes, yeah, Carl, go ahead. So anyways, everyone gets a free Adam Hughes hero. It says hero instead of hope at the bottom. Hero, and everyone will get an Adam Hughes hero poster, and there it is, right there. And as we add on things like those stickers, those chibi stickers we saw earlier,
Yeah.
Everybody who backs the book gets those. So even though like I said, I think it's either $19 or $20 for the book, and that's pretty high. But it is like at least a 48-page book with 2 6-page backups featuring even Stevens. So 12. That's already 60 pages of story right there. Yeah. See, we got the Adam Hughes cover, the Terry Moore cover. Those are both so gorgeous. So
Absolutely,
gorgeous.
man. No, they're beautiful. Absolutely. And Krampus, of course.
Yeah, he's our big bad for the issue. He's gotten a hold of this power stone that makes him kind of cosmic powered, and that's another reason we need all the heroes to fight him.
Hilarious.
So,
that's great, man. No, again, these designs are so wonderful. Here's a good example of David's work as well, and a lot of your work throughout the years. Absolutely. I didn't know you created King Shark.
Yeah, back in Superboy, baby. Yeah.
That's right. Hey, I hope you got a check for it for the use so far.
They gave me some money. Yeah.
All right. Well, and I'm sure not enough, but I'm glad you got.
No, but I would just tell you, it was just a thrill to see the character on the screen. And even though when I did him, he was a pretty hard ass, gonna bite your arm off character. How can you not love what James Gunn did with him in Suicide Squad? How can you not? And I was just thrilled. He survived, so he would be in the sequel. I was thrilled.
Absolutely, man. And Stallone voicing him.
I know. It was perfect. It was perfect.
It's just like Vin Diesel being Groot. No, it's like last thing you'd expect, but it's like, oh, this is good.
It worked really well. And who would have guessed? Who would have guessed King Shark would have ever been in any movie ever? Who would have guessed that?
Well, that is James Gunn's brilliance, is really zeroing in on these lower tiered heroes and finding a story or villains and finding stories to tell with them. And that's why I am very confident that he will do a great job. And we've already seen it with his Suicide Squad movie, with the Peacekeeper TV show, and everything he's done in Marvel. Yeah, he gets it. Because I and I don't know if we talked about it when they first told me, and I know Joe Quesada and Bendis well enough, and back in the day, and it's like, so what's next? And they're like, Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm like, why? I'm like, is that going to work? I'm like, I understand. You're going to be blown away, and I'm like, and I was, and we all were,
But the brilliance of that is. The brilliance of that was they go, we have Captain America and Thor and Iron Man here. Those are our top string characters. Guardians of the Galaxy, that's bottom of the barrel, people. And if that's a success, we got a million things in between.
100%. Yeah, I will admit a bit of tedium on my part as far as a viewer on Phase 4, but I am excited for Phase 5, and I think Kang is a great big bad. I do worry a little bit about going to the well too much with alternate universes. It's almost like time travel that if you use it too much, it becomes mundane, I believe. But so far, so good. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it's the whole multiverse thing is really interesting because, of course, historically, DC has the multiverses, and so it's very interesting to see Marvel embracing it. But they're embracing it probably for a very practical reason, is because actors get old. And they've got to be able to pull in a new Iron Man or whatever,
I had that conversation with Jeff Loeb like 10 or 12 years ago where I'm like, there's going to come a time where, and we're there, where, Downey Jones is, knocking on the year 60's door. I'm like, are we going to want a 60-year-old Tony Stark? And he said, I don't know, but isn't that a good problem to have?
Yeah.
As far as, hey, this character is great. What do we do when we reach a certain age? Yeah, I do wonder if whenever the culmination is, will we see alternate actors playing Cap and Tony and these characters that they have, pushed aside, from a story standpoint. Yeah. So we'll see.
I'm interested to see where it goes. Absolutely.
Mike says King Shark is in the upcoming Suicide Squad video game.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
That's cool. And again,
oh, he's a playable character. Very interesting.
Yeah, how about that? That's cool. I just talked to John Lehman on Monday, and I don't know if I had asked him if and again, the fact that he's in the video game, maybe that means that they're going to do he's doing a prequel to the video game where it's the Suicide Squad versus Arkham Asylum.
Oh, nice.
And I wonder if King Shark is a part of that. I would imagine he would be because again, it's a direct
part of the video game. I guess he would have to be. Yeah.
No, that's cool. And I know too, my buddy Tim Seeley just did a very good King Shark miniseries last year.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's great, man. So are you pitching for DC and Marvel at all, Carl? I mean, I know.
I have to admit, I'm having a great time doing Impossible Jones.
Yeah.
And anytime I think of beyond Impossible Jones or side projects to Impossible Jones, it's other things I want to do. It's other things I want to do at
That's
Kickstarter.
Great.
Either maybe a project I actually draw myself, or maybe, I don't know, there's an artist that pops up that I would like to work with. I know, David's got a side project or two going, which is fine. David, I have to say, one of the great things about David, besides being a great artist, is he says, I'll get you 3 pages a week. And you know what? He always does.
Wow, that's great. Fantastic. That's wonderful. No, man, again, longtime fan of David's as well, with his Batman 66 work in particular,
right.
and very well suited for this. Did you guys co-create Impossible Jones, or was David?
We're I mean, I had the basic idea, but beyond the basic idea, it's been us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's been in the last one where she teamed up with Polecat. There was a point where I just said, well, I kind of think they meet 4 women. And I don't know like what they're dressed as, and David goes, I got it, don't worry, I got it, and he came up with some great characters.
That's terrific, man. Are you guys going to be at conventions either together or separately this year?
I don't know about David, and I really, other than local shows, I think I'll make the Portland show, which is September, August, something like that.
Rose City, yeah,
Rose City show. I don't think I'm going to be at any other big shows or any little shows. I will be visiting my sister in North Carolina, we're going to start the visit on 4th of July. And I think the following weekend, I will be making some comic shop appearances in the area.
Great.
But that's the closest to a convention I'm going to get this year, probably.
I understand. Are you? I mean, obviously, I see. Parker pitching in with comments tonight. Are you at Helioscope? Are you friends with a lot? And certainly, you mentioned Steve Lieber, another Portland.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of one of their adjunct members. I mean, yeah. I'm a member. I see all of their emails, but quite honestly, there are a lot of members I have never met. These young whippersnappers. But I mean, the level of talent that they have in that place is just it can stun an ox. The level of talent they have. So, and it's fun to be included with their emails about like Wednesday is their big work party Wednesday, and they like all come in and eat cookies and biscuits and stuff. And I work slow enough that I just do not feel justified in taking time out to commute basically in and out. My commute is 10 steps from the kitchen, and I'm at
I was going to say 1 flight of stairs, or even one room to another room. No, I can appreciate that.
So other people like Ron Randall, he and I'm not saying he's wrong. He treasures that connection, and even though Ron has moved and lives on the coast of Oregon now, he comes in like every month and spends 2 or 3 or 4 days at Helioscope. Just keeping, because he finds it really regenerates himself, and I can't argue with that. It does, having that sort of input, new input from directions and people you didn't expect it from. That's very valuable, very valuable.
Parker points out that your space is now acquired by Kevin McGuire, and I assume he means Steve Lieber when he says Steve makes the biscuits these days.
Yeah, Steve Lieber does make biscuits. Yeah. I've seen pictures of them. They look tasty. They look very tasty.
I should ask, with all the big crossover events of the 90s, indeed, Final Night was one of the best and worked really well. even without the tie-ins. Hopefully, it will be adapted someday.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting movie. So
I would love to see, the DC's animation or whatever do a version of Final Night. That would be great.
Here's Ron. Ron,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
there he
I
is.
didn't hear me earlier, but he says he mostly comes in at Helioscope for the business.
Yeah, well, Ron's not a stupid guy,
When I was in for the 2019 Rose City and staying at Bendis's house, and in fact, Parker picked me up from the airport, which was great. And I planned this day at Helioscope, brought my portable recorder, and was going to talk to everybody. And we were just having such a good time relaxing. And I'm like, can we not do the podcast? Can we give it and drink coffee and talk? And of course, they're like, absolutely, man. So no, I had a blast. And yeah, I mean, Parker's a good old time friend, and Lieber's become a good friend as well.
Yeah.
So no, I really like those Helioscope people, both the young and the new people. So yeah, definitely, or the young and the old people, whatever. That's great, man.
Good group.
Absolutely. And Ronnie's really been, I think, won over. He says this is one of the best word balloons. Thank you, Ronnie. Well, again, it's all Karl. He's already coming up with new names for when you come on, Karl. The new King Karl speech. He loves Tom King, but these two need to work together. Imagine a King and Karl show. Oh, that'd be interesting to see you guys work together, you and Tom King.
Oh, Tom King. Okay, I was like going, what Tom is he talking about? And that's Tom King. Well, I'm sure Tom King is very busy right now. So I have to admit I've been really enjoying Human Target, but I don't get into the comic shop like I used to, so I actually been picking up the books. So I haven't seen the conclusion, the thrilling conclusion.
I was going to ask. All right, I'm not going to spoil then. No,
but I've read the first 6 issues.
It's such a great story, and my God, Greg Smallwood, what a great artist! And
absolute perfect choice for that sort of story. Absolutely perfect.
Oh, you can't help but fall in love with Ice. My God, she has never been more like and a perfect role in this noir story. And it's like, yeah, man, she's like Gene Tierney and Laura. Of course, you're gonna fall.
Yeah. No, it's been the first 6 issues that I read were really spot on. So it'll be interesting to see how it all wraps together, all comes together. I mean, I've ordered it through Amazon, so like the day it's released, it'll be on my door. So
excellent. Oh no, yeah, you won't be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
For Impossible Jones, and here's the left field thing, and especially thinking back to the Cap newspaper strip idea. How about an old style radio show that almost has that Batman 66 narrative appeal for Impossible Jones and that city?
That could be cool. Yeah, you don't see a lot of. Yeah, I mean, there were those old Batman and Superman radio shows. Yeah, that's true.
Well, and honestly, both DC and Marvel are really getting into audio.
Mm-hmm.
And right now on HBO Max, and I believe on Spotify, there is kind of a Batman 66 style audio show that absolutely is like, very, very Silver Age in its tone, in the best ways.
I've been getting the audio adaptations of the Sandman. Those are really good, where they they stage them with different actors and stuff.
Oh no, and these are fully dramatized as well. No, I'm an old time radio nerd, man. So I love anything that when new people are flirting with audio and stuff.
That Batman 66 style radio show, that sounds really interesting.
And again, I can kind of see Impossible Jones being in that way. And they even also they adapted the audio dramas into comics. So there are comics that adapt them as well. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Well, if you need a big kind of Ted Knight booming voice for the Adventures of Impossible Jones, I'm throwing my hat in.
Okay. I remember I was listening to I have some CDs of the old Superman radio show, and the ones I have them teamed up with Batman. That's why they released it.
Yes.
And I remember I'm listening to it at one point, and like Batman and Robin, and I think there's someone else, and they're trapped in like this pit or something, and there's water, and I think the water might be rising little by little, and Batman goes, "We must get out of here," and then he just starts going, "Help! Help!" And that's like his big plan to get out is to shout for help. So it was not really the Batman we know.
No, I've heard those as well. It's funny. They even on a syndicated old time radio show that played here in Chicago every Friday, they would run a chapter of those Superman, Batman stories and stuff. And yeah, it would crack us up. We were all laughing at the news station that played them and stuff. No, and of course, hey, and I'm glad they finally adapted it into a comic. That Superman versus the Klan story is a great radio show that finally they decided Gene Luen Yang wrote it, and it was a fantastic story. Absolutely. Comic Booth says, Ron, thank you for Trekker. Very cool. I'm glad that Trekker's getting some love on today's show. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, Trekker, you can see Ron's love in every single page of that book. And I just have to say, him doing Trekker at Kickstarter without him having to worry about when is Dark Horse going to put it out, and what does, there was certainly, I think, a certain amount of tension where Dark Horse was trying to figure out how to market it, how to get it into more people's hands. And, Ron gets it into people's hands by basically, just talking about it for one whole month whenever he's running a Kickstarter. But freed of those worries about, commercialism and stuff, Ron is doing some of the most nuanced and wonderful stuff of his whole career. His storytelling and his characters are, there's something like in the last 2 years, 3 years, he's, a lot of people, talent goes like this and then you step up. And then you step up, and Ron has taken a step up like in the last 3-4 years, and his stuff is of an exemplary level. Exemplary.
It's an epic sci-fi tale, and it really is worth everybody's attention. Yeah. And I'm glad that Ron is having the success he is. I'm glad you're having the success you are as well with Impossible Jones.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, hey man, we got 3 weeks to go, and plenty of room for stretch goals to expand that Even Stevens story.
But when you do that,
we'll remind everybody right now, go to impossiblekickstarter.com.
It's easy to remember. Easy to remember.
Absolutely. And, again, the proof is right there in that David Hahn art. That
the gesture,
David Hahn, I'm sorry, say it again.
I was going to say the gesture he gives her, it's just so perfect, And then, look at her standing next to Even Stevens. That you can tell so much about those characters just from the way they stand,
No question. Absolutely, man. No, congratulations, honestly, Karl. This is
thank you very much.
Another great story in the Impossible Jones saga.
Right.
And glad to make people aware of it. And everybody should go and support it. And thanks everybody for the questions.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for watching. Not sure if we're doing a Word Balloon Live tomorrow night, but more great stuff next week as the month of March continues. Next weekend, I'll be at C2E2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing 6 panels. That's a lot. So yeah, moderating several, but I'm on a Friday Meet the Press panel. I'm doing a YA panel with Jeff Smith among the creators.
Oh, really?
And also
say hi for me.
Oh, I will. And a DC Marvel writers panel.
Uh-huh.
And Chris Gage and Ryan Brown's 8 Million Genies. I'm doing that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Everyone's favorite TV horror host, Svengoolie, Chicago's very own. I'm doing the Svengoolie panel. So that's all happening on Saturday. On Sunday, it's me and then the Tiny Titans guys, Art and Franco from All Yeah Comics.
You got a great lineup.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So if you're coming to McCormick Place and C2E2, make sure you say hi. So that's it for today for Word Balloon. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.